Director Kim Ji-ho sat in his office on the 47th floor of the Human Galactic Affairs building. Through the massive window, he could see the busy streets of New Seoul. Flying cars moved between tall buildings like colorful fish in a glass tank. But Ji-ho was not looking at the view. He was staring at a message on his screen. The message came from the Altarian Trade Union. Again. This was the third urgent request this month. Their economy was falling apart, and they needed human experts to fix it. They always needed humans to fix something. Ji-ho rubbed his tired eyes. He was 63 years old and had been doing this job for 20 years. 20 years of fixing other people's problems. 20 years of watching alien species come to humans whenever something went wrong. His door chimed. "Come in," he said. Dr. Park Somin walked into the office. She carried a thick folder under her arm. Somin was the smartest person Ji-ho knew. She studied alien cultures and behavior. Her research was always thorough and always right. "Director, I need to show you something important," Somin said. She sat down across from his desk and opened her folder. "More bad news?" Ji-ho asked. "Worse than bad news. This is dangerous news." Somin pulled out charts and papers. "I have been studying galactic civilization for 10 years. I call my research Galactic Dependency Syndrome." Ji-ho leaned forward. "What does that mean?" "It means the galaxy cannot function without humans anymore. We have become their solution to everything." Somin spread the charts on his desk. "Look at these numbers. In the past 50 years, humans have solved 97% of all major galactic problems." The charts showed lines going up and down, red lines, blue lines, green lines. All of them told the same story. Aliens called humans for help more and more each year. Economic collapse? Call humans. Disease outbreak? Call humans. Technology failure? Call humans. Political crisis? Call humans. Somin pointed to different sections of her charts. "They do not even try to solve problems themselves anymore." Ji-ho looked at the numbers. He had suspected this for years, but seeing it on paper made it real. How bad is it? The Viridian Empire has not made a major decision without human advisors in 30 years. The Zenthari Confederation cannot maintain their own space stations. The Korthak Alliance asks us to repair their weapons after every battle. Somin's voice was calm, but Ji-ho could hear the worry underneath. "We created a galaxy of children." The door chimed again. Captain Lee Do-hyun entered. He was tall and strong with gray hair and sharp eyes. Do-hyun commanded the human diplomatic fleet. His ships carried human experts to every corner of the galaxy. "Director, we have a problem," Do-hyun said. "When do we not have a problem?" Ji-ho asked. Do-hyun sat down next to Somin. "The Viridian Empire just passed new laws. They want us to solve their population crisis. Too many people, not enough resources. But here is the interesting part. The same law restricts human colonization in their territory." Ji-ho felt anger rise in his chest. "They want our help, but they do not want us living near them." "That is correct. They want us to fix their problems and then go away." Do-hyun's voice was hard. "This is the 5th species to pass similar laws this year." Somin nodded. "This fits my research perfectly. They see us as tools, not as equals. They want our abilities, but they do not want us as neighbors." The three humans sat in silence. Outside the window, the city continued its busy life. People went to work, children played in parks, couples walked hand in hand. Normal life. But here in this office, 3 people were seeing the truth about humanity's place in the galaxy. "How many requests do we have this week?" Ji-ho asked. Do-Yun checked his tablet. 47. Economic crisis on Altair Prime. Disease on the Zenthari, home world. Technology breakdown in the Rigel system. Political uprising on Vega 4. The usual. The usual. Jiho repeated. That was the problem. It had become usual for aliens to need human help. It had become unusual for them to solve anything. Themselves. Soman gathered her papers. Director, I need to ask you something. What happens to a child who never learns to walk because someone always carries them? They never learn to walk, Jiho answered. Exactly. And what happens to civilizations that never learn to solve problems because someone always does it for them? Jiho understood. The galaxy was full of civilizations that could not walk on their own anymore. Humans had been carrying them for so long that they forgot how to use their own legs. There is something else, Somin continued. My research shows that these species were not always helpless. The Altarians built amazing trade networks before humans arrived. The Korthak were brilliant engineers. The Viridians created beautiful art and poetry. They had their own solutions to their own problems. What happened to those abilities? Do-Yun asked. We happened, Somin said quietly. Human solutions were faster, easier, better. So they stopped trying. Why struggle to solve a problem when humans can fix it in half the time? Jiho stood up and walked to his window. The city below looked peaceful, but he knew that across the galaxy, millions of aliens were waiting for humans to solve their next problem. They were sitting in their offices and homes, looking at their screens, writing urgent messages to Earth. Help us, those messages said. Fix this. Make it better. We cannot do it without you. But what they really meant was, we will not do it without you. Director? Do-Hyun's voice broke through his thoughts. Jiho turned around. His decision was clear now. It had been building for months, maybe years. But today, in this room, with these papers and these truths, it became final. Schedule a meeting with the Human Council, Jiho said. All department heads, all colony governors, all fleet commanders. What should I tell them? Do-Hyun asked. Jiho looked at his two colleagues, Soman with her careful research, Do-Hyun with his strong loyalty, both of them tired from carrying the galaxy's problems. Tell them we are going to do something that no one expects, something that will shock every alien species from here to the Andromeda border. Jiho's voice was steady and sure. Tell them we are going home. The room was quiet. Outside, the city hummed with life. Inside, 3 humans had just decided to change the galaxy forever, not with weapons or threats or angry words, but with the simple, powerful act of walking away. The revolution had begun, and it would be the quietest revolution the galaxy had ever seen. The meeting room was full of the most important humans in the galaxy. Colony governors sat next to fleet commanders. Department heads spoke quietly with their assistants. Everyone knew something big was happening, but no one knew what. Director. Kim Jiho walked to the front of the room. Behind him, a large screen showed a map of human settlements across 47 star systems. Green dots marked colonies, research stations, hospitals, and schools. Red lines connected trade routes that humans managed. Blue squares showed manufacturing plants that humans operated. Thank you all for coming, Jiho said. His voice carried easily through the room. Today, we make the most important decision in human history since we first left Earth. Engineer Choi Min-jun sat in the 3rd row. He was responsible for maintaining human infrastructure across 12 systems. His team kept power plants running, communication networks working, and water systems clean. Minjun looked at the map and felt a strange feeling in his stomach. For 150 years, humans have served the galaxy, Jiho continued. We have solved problems, prevented wars, cured diseases, and built bridges between species. We have been good galactic citizens. Ambassador Yun Nari nodded from her seat. She had spent 30 years negotiating treaties and settling disputes between alien species. Her job was to keep peace in the galaxy. She was very good at her job. Maybe too good. But Dr. Park Soman's research shows us a difficult truth. The galaxy does not see us as partners. They see us as tools. They use us when they need us and push us away when they do not. Admiral Song Kyung-ho folded his arms. He commanded the largest fleet in human space. His ships protected human colonies and escorted diplomatic missions. He had always been proud of humanity's role in the galaxy, but lately that pride felt heavy. The Viridian Empire wants us to solve their population crisis while they ban human colonization. The Altarian Trade Union demands economic help while they charge humans triple taxes. The Zenthari Confederation asks us to repair their stations while they refuse to share technology. Murmurs filled the room. Everyone had their own stories of alien species that took human help but gave nothing back. Therefore, Jiho said, I propose the Great Withdrawal. We are going home. The room exploded with voices. Some people shouted questions. Others argued with their neighbors. A few sat in shocked silence. Minjun raised his hand. Director, what exactly does going home mean? It means we close every human facility outside our own systems. We bring every human citizen back to Earth and our colonies. We stop answering calls for help. We stop solving other people's problems. That's impossible, said Governor Han Mirai from the Centauri colony. We have hospitals treating millions of patients, schools teaching alien children, research stations working on cures for galactic diseases. And we will shut them all down, Jiho replied calmly. Carefully, safely, but completely. Nari stood up. Director, the diplomatic consequences will be enormous. Every species in the galaxy will protest. Some might even threaten war. Let them protest, Jiho said. Let them threaten. We will not fight them. We will simply leave. Admiral Song spoke from the back of the room. My fleets are ready to protect our people during the withdrawal. But Jiho, are you sure about this? We've spent generations building relationships across the galaxy. Yes, we have. And what do we have to show for it? 47 systems that cannot function without us. Billions of aliens who have forgotten how to solve their own problems. Children who never learned to walk because we always carried them. Dr. Park Soman stepped forward. She activated a hologram that showed population, flows across the galaxy. This is what the withdrawal will look like. We estimate 18 months to bring everyone home safely. Minjun's teams will need 12 months to shut down infrastructure properly. Nari will need 6 months to handle diplomatic procedures. The room became quiet as people studied the hologram. The task was massive, bringing home 15 million humans from across the galaxy, closing thousands of facilities, ending centuries of galactic cooperation. What about the aliens who depend on our medical facilities? Asked Dr. Eugenia, head of Galactic Health Services. They will have to build their own hospitals, Jiho answered. What about the trade routes we manage? Asked Director Shin Taiho from Economic Affairs. They will have to find their own way. What about the research we're doing to cure the Rigel? Plague? Asked Professor Kim Na-young. They will have to continue the research themselves. We will leave all our data and equipment. One by one, department heads asked about their specific responsibilities. One by one, Jiho gave the same answer. The aliens would have to do it themselves. I know this is hard, Jiho said after all the questions stopped. We are not cruel people. We want to help, but help has become harm. Our good intentions have created galactic helplessness. Minjin stood up. Director, I accept the mission. My teams can shut down infrastructure safely. But I need to ask something. What if the aliens try to stop us? They might, Admiral Song answered. But we will not fight them. We will simply leave. If they want to block our ships, we will wait patiently until they move aside. And if they don't move aside? Minjun asked. Then we will find another way around them. Violence is not an option. We are not leaving in anger. We are leaving in hope. Nari activated her communicator. I'll need to send a message to every alien government. They deserve advance warning. What will you tell them? Jiho asked. The truth. That humans are withdrawing from galactic affairs. That we will complete our current obligations and then close our facilities. That we believe they can succeed without us. How long before they start panicking? Asked Governor Han. They're probably panicking right now, Nari replied. My assistant is sending the message as we speak. Song activated his fleet communications. All ships, prepare for the largest evacuation in human history. This is not a retreat. This is a strategic withdrawal. We leave with dignity and honor. The meeting continued for 6 more hours. They planned logistics, assigned responsibilities, and set timelines. Minjun would lead infrastructure shutdown. Nari would handle diplomatic relations. Song would protect the evacuation. Every department had a role. As the meeting ended, people filed out slowly. Some looked excited about returning to Earth. Others seemed worried about the consequences. All of them understood that they were making history. Jiho stayed behind with his core team. Through the window, they could see the first evacuation ships preparing for launch. Second thoughts? Soman asked. No, Jiho replied. This is right. The galaxy needs to learn to stand on its own feet. And if they can't, Minjun asked, then they will learn from failure. That's how children grow up. That's how civilizations become strong. The Great Withdrawal had begun. Across the galaxy, alien governments were receiving Nari's message. Soon, they would understand that humanity was serious. The species that had solved everyone's problems for 150 years was going home. The galaxy was about to learn what life was like without humans. It would be a difficult lesson, but maybe a necessary one. 6 months had passed since the Great Withdrawal began. Dr. Kang Hyemin sat in her research lab on Earth, reading reports from across the galaxy. As a xenopsychologist, she studied how alien minds worked. But the messages flooding her computer were unlike anything she had seen before. The first report came from the Altarian Trade Union. Their economy had collapsed completely within 3 weeks of the human withdrawal. Trade routes that had worked smoothly for decades were now broken. Ships got lost in space because they could not navigate without human-built guidance systems. The Altarians are in chaos, Hyemin said to her assistant, tech specialist Jang Wu Jin. Their leaders are sending desperate messages every day, but they're not asking for help anymore. They're asking why we left them. Wu Jin looked up from his workstation. He had returned from the Centauri system just 2 months ago. For 15 years, he had maintained computer networks for 3 alien species. Now he was helping build new systems on Earth. Did they think we would stay forever? Wu Jin asked. Did they think humans existed just to solve their problems? Hyemen pulled up another report. This one came from the Korthak Alliance. The proud warrior species had a shocking secret. For 80 years, human engineers had been maintaining their weapons. Without human help, their advanced guns and ships were breaking down. "The Korthak are struggling," Hyemen said. "Their military equipment is failing. Some of their older ships cannot even start their engines." "What are they doing about it?" Woojin asked. "They're trying to fix things themselves, but they haven't built their own technology in decades. They've forgotten how their own weapons work." Historian Bei Yunji walked into the lab carrying a stack of documents. She was documenting the Great Withdrawal for future generations. Her job was to record everything that happened during this historic time. "I have news from the Zenthari Confederation," Yunji said. "It's not good." She spread photos across Hyemen's desk. The images showed Zenthari space stations with dark sections and broken equipment. Some stations were completely abandoned. "They cannot maintain their own infrastructure," Yunji explained. "Humans built those stations. Humans powered them. Humans kept them running. Now the Zenthari are moving back to their home planet because they cannot live in space without human support." Hyemen studied the photos. The Zenthari had been spacefaring people for thousands of years, but somewhere along the way, they had stopped, learning how to maintain their own technology. "There's something else," Yunji continued. "I found records of the Zenthari's original engineering achievements. They built amazing things before humans arrived. Beautiful cities, incredible machines, works of art that lasted for centuries." "What happened to those abilities?" Woojin asked. "Human technology was better," Yunji replied. "Faster, cheaper, more efficient. So the Zenthari stopped building their own things. Why struggle with old methods when humans could provide better solutions?" Hyemen's computer chimed with a new message. This one came from Dr. Veltar, a Zenthari psychologist. His message was different from the angry demands or confused questions that usually arrived from alien worlds. "Dr. Hyemen," the message read, "our people are experiencing something we do not understand. Many Zenthari are feeling sad and worried all the time. They sit in their homes and cannot work. They look at broken machines and cry. Our doctors do not know how to help them. Can you explain what is happening to us?" Hyemen leaned back in her chair. "They're experiencing depression and anxiety," she said to her colleagues. "The same feelings humans get when they feel helpless and hopeless." "Why now?" Woojin asked. "Because they're realizing the truth. For the first time in generations, they have to solve their own problems, and they don't know how." Another message arrived, this one from the Viridian Empire. It was from Emperor Morgan himself. The proud leader who had banned human colonization was now asking for psychiatric help. His people were having mental breakdowns across the empire. "The Viridians are sending their citizens to emergency counseling centers," Hyemen read from the message. "But their counselors are asking humans for advice on how to treat the patients." Yunji shook her head. "Even their solution to the problem requires human help." But not all the news was bad. Woojin showed them reports from Earth's colonies. Returning humans were bringing knowledge and experience from across the galaxy. Earth was experiencing a renaissance of technology and culture. "Look at this," Woojin said, activating a hologram. "The Terra Nova project in New Angeles. We're building sustainable cities using ideas from 12 different alien species, but we're doing it ourselves, with our own hands and our own minds." The hologram showed beautiful buildings that looked like they grew from the earth. Gardens floated between towers. Clean energy flowed through artistic conduits. It was architecture that combined the best of human and alien ideas. Returning humans are sharing everything they learned, Woojin continued. Medical techniques from the Altarians, engineering principles from the Korthak, art styles from the Viridians, but we're adapting these ideas to work with human methods. Hyemen smiled. That's the difference. We're learning from aliens and making the knowledge our own. The aliens just waited for us to solve everything for them. Yunji picked up a particularly thick folder. I've been studying the historical patterns. Every species went through the same process. First, they had their own solutions to problems. Then humans arrived with better solutions. Then they stopped developing their own methods. Finally, they became completely dependent on human help. How long did this process take? Hyemen asked. For most species, about 50 to 70 years. One human generation. A new alert flashed on Hyemen's screen. This message was urgent and came from multiple sources. Something terrible was happening in the Rigel system. What is it? Woojin asked. Hyemen read quickly. Her face went pale. The disaster prevention system. What disaster prevention system? Yunja asked. The one engineer Minjin's team shut down 3 months ago. It was a secret system that prevented natural disasters across 7 star systems. Earthquakes, solar flares, asteroid impacts. The system monitored everything and sent warnings to alien governments. And now? Woojin asked, though he already knew the answer. The system is offline. The aliens never knew it existed. They never built their own monitoring systems because ours worked so well. Hyemen's voice was shaking. 3 planets in the Rigel system just got hit by solar flares. No warning, no preparation. Millions of people are in danger. The room was quiet. Outside, Earth's cities hummed with new life and returning humans. But across the galaxy, civilizations were learning hard lessons about self-reliance. Should we help them? Woojin asked quietly. No, Yunji said firmly. If we help now, they'll never learn. They'll go back to depending on us for everything. Hyemen looked at the disaster reports. People were suffering because they had become too dependent on human help. But maybe this suffering would teach them to build their own warning systems. Maybe they would learn to protect themselves. The galaxy is growing up, Hyemen said finally. Growing up is painful, but it's necessary. The ripple effect of humanity's withdrawal was spreading across the stars. Some species were collapsing, others were struggling, but a few were beginning to remember how to stand on their own feet. The galaxy was changing, one broken dependency at a time. 2 years had passed since humanity began the Great Withdrawal. Director Kim Ji-ho was now 75 years old. His hair was completely white, and he walked slower than before, but his eyes were still sharp as he read reports from across the galaxy. The galaxy had changed. Not all the changes were good, but they were real. Historian Bae Yunji sat across from Ji-ho in his office. Her research had grown into the most complete record of galactic civilization ever written. She had discovered patterns that surprised everyone. Director, the galaxy has split into 3 groups, Yunji said, spreading her latest charts on his desk. I call them the adapters, the strugglers, and the fallen. Ji-ho studied the charts. Colors showed which species belonged to which group. Green for adapters, yellow for strugglers, red for the fallen. Tell me about the adapters first, Ji-ho said. These are species that learn to solve their own problems. They're not just surviving, they're thriving. Yunji pointed to green sections of the galaxy. The most surprising success is the Altarian Trade Union. Ji-ho raised his eyebrows. The Altarians? but their economy collapsed completely. Yes, it did. For 8 months, they had no trade, no money, no functioning markets. But then something amazing happened. Trade Minister Zol Wen took control. Yunji activated a hologram showing Altarian space. Ships moved along new trade routes that looked completely different from the old human-designed paths. Zol Wen studied her people's history. She found records of ancient Altarian trading methods from before humans arrived. These methods were slower than human systems, but they were stable and fair. She adapted them for modern use. And it worked? Jiho asked. Better than worked. The new Altarian economy is the most honest trading system in the galaxy. No corruption, no unfair prices, no species taking advantage of others. Other civilizations are asking to join their trade network. Jiho smiled. What about the Korthak Alliance? Yunji's expression became amazed. Director, you won't believe. What happened to the Korthak? Remember they couldn't maintain their own weapons after humans left? I remember. Their military was falling apart. General Mordish made an incredible decision. Instead of trying to fix the old weapons, he asked his people a simple question. Why do we need weapons at all? Jiho leaned forward. The Korthak had been warriors for thousands of years. The Korthak spent 6 months without working weapons. During that time, they couldn't fight anyone. They had to talk to their enemies instead of shooting them. They discovered something shocking. What did they discover? Most of their wars were caused by misunderstandings, problems that could be solved with conversation instead of violence. Yunji pulled up images of Korthak space. General Mordish created the first Korthak Peace Corps. They travel the galaxy helping species solve conflicts without fighting. The Korthak became peacemakers? Jiho could hardly believe it. The greatest warriors in the galaxy became the greatest peacekeepers. They're using their strength to protect the weak instead of conquering them. Jiho looked at the green sections of the galaxy map. These adapters learned to solve problems in ways humans never could. They found their own solutions. Exactly. And their solutions are often better than what humans provided. Yunji moved to the yellow sections. But the strugglers are having a harder time. The yellow sections were smaller than the green ones. These species were trying to copy human methods instead of developing their own. The Zenthari Confederation is the biggest struggler group, Yunji explained. Council leader Veltar is trying to rebuild everything exactly the way humans did it. Is it working? Partially. They're surviving, but not thriving. They're so focused on copying human technology that they're not developing their own ideas. Jiho nodded. And the Fallen? Yunji's voice became sad. The red sections represent species that couldn't adapt. They blamed others for their problems instead of solving them themselves. The red sections were the smallest, but they still represented millions of beings. The Viridian Empire is the largest fallen civilization. Emperor Morgan refused to admit that his people had become dependent on humans. Instead, he blamed neighboring species for the Empire's problems. What happened? Civil war. The Viridian Empire broke apart into 12 smaller kingdoms. Some of those kingdoms are now adapters. They're learning to solve their own problems. But the core empire is still fighting and blaming others. Jiho felt sad about the fallen species, but also hopeful about the adapters and strugglers. The galaxy was learning, even if the lessons were painful. A soft chime indicated an incoming message. Jiho's assistant appeared on the screen. Director, you have an urgent communication from the Galactic Council. Put it through, Jiho said. The screen changed to show Council Leader Veltar of the Zenthari. but he looked different. His usual proud expression was replaced by something Jiho had never seen before. Humility. "Director Jiho," Veltar said, "I am calling to apologize." Jiho was surprised. Alien leaders never apologized to humans. They made demands, asked for help, or complained about problems. But they never said sorry. Apologize for what, Council Leader? For not understanding what humans truly gave us. We thought you solved our problems, but you did something much more important. You believed we could solve our problems. Veltar paused, choosing his words carefully. When humans left, we felt abandoned. We felt angry. We felt helpless. But slowly, some of us began to remember something we had forgotten. What did you remember? We remembered that we used to be capable. Before humans arrived, we built amazing things. We solved difficult problems. We were proud of our achievements. Jiho listened carefully. This was not the same Veltar who had demanded human help just 2 years ago. Director, I have been studying the history of human-alien relations. I discovered something disturbing. My people became so comfortable with human solutions that we stopped trying to find our own answers. And now? Now we are trying again. It is hard work. We fail often. But when we succeed, we feel something we had not felt in generations. What do you feel? Pride. Real pride in our own achievements. The conversation continued for another hour. Veltar told Jiho about Zenthari engineers who were rebuilding their space stations, about Zenthari artists who were creating new forms of beauty, about Zenthari leaders who were making their own decisions. After the call ended, Jiho sat quietly with Yunji. "The galaxy is growing up," Yunja said. "Yes, it is. And some species are growing faster than others. What about Earth? How are we doing?" Jiho smiled. "Earth is doing better than ever. Returning humans brought knowledge from across the galaxy, but more importantly, they brought respect for other species' abilities." What do you mean? Before the withdrawal, humans thought we were the only ones who could solve galactic problems. We were arrogant. Now we know that other species can find their own solutions, sometimes better solutions than ours. Yunji gathered her charts. "Director, I have one more thing to show you." She activated a new hologram. This one showed communication patterns across the galaxy. Something interesting is happening. Species are talking to each other more than ever before. Not through human mediators, but directly. The hologram showed thousands of communication lines connecting different civilizations. The Korthak are teaching conflict resolution to the Rigel colonies. The Altarians are sharing trade methods with the Vega systems. The recovered Viridian kingdoms are exchanging art with the Centauri worlds. Jiho studied the pattern. They're helping each other. For the first time in over a century, alien species are solving each other's problems instead of calling humans for help. That's wonderful. It gets better. They're not just copying human methods, they're developing new solutions that humans never thought of. Jiho felt a warmth in his chest that he had not felt in years. The Great Withdrawal had been painful for everyone. But it was working. The galaxy was becoming independent, creative, and strong. "Yunji, I think we're ready for the next phase." "What next phase?" "It's time to consider returning to the galaxy. Not as problem solvers, but as partners." 5 years had passed since humanity walked away from the galaxy. Director Kim Jiho was now 77 years old. His office had changed over the years. The walls that once displayed maps of human colonies across the stars now showed pictures of Earth's growing cities and returning families. Captain Han Ji-won stood at the window, looking out at the busy spaceport below. She was 42 years old and had been chosen to replace Ji-ho when he retired. Ji-won had spent the withdrawal years helping returning humans settle back on Earth. Now she faced a decision that would shape humanity's future. "Director," Ji-won said, "the message arrived this morning." She handed Ji-ho a communication device. The screen showed the official seal of the Galactic Council, but something was different. Instead of the usual emergency red background, this message had a peaceful blue design. Ji-ho activated the message. Council leader Veltar appeared, but he was not alone. Behind him stood representatives from dozens of species: Altarians, Korthak, recovered Viridians, Rigelians, and many others. "Director Ji-ho and the people of Earth," Veltar began. "5 years ago, you left us to learn how to stand on our own feet. Today we write to tell you that we have learned to walk." Ji-ho leaned forward. This was not a request for help. The tone was completely different from any galactic message he had ever received. "We do not ask you to return as our problem solvers," Veltar continued. "We do not need you to fix our mistakes or solve our crises. We have learned to do these things ourselves." Trade Minister Zol Wen of the Altarians stepped forward. "The Altarian Trade Union has created the first fair trade network in galactic history. We learned this not from human methods, but from our own ancient wisdom." General Mordish of the Korthak appeared next. "The Korthak Peace Corps has prevented 14 wars in the past 2 years. We discovered that our strength is better used to protect than to conquer." One by one, representatives spoke about their achievements. The Zenthari had rebuilt their space cities using new engineering methods. The Rigelians had developed early warning systems that were better than the old human networks. The Viridian kingdoms had created art and poetry that moved hearts across the galaxy. "We invite you to return," Veltar said finally. "Not as our saviors, but as our equals. Not as our teachers, but as our partners. We have something to offer you now: knowledge, friendship, and respect." The message ended. Ji-ho sat quietly for a long moment. "What do you think?" Ji-won asked. Before Ji-ho could answer, his door chimed. Student Oh Sung-min entered the office. He was 23 years old and represented the generation that had grown up during the withdrawal. Sung-min had never lived in the galaxy. Earth was the only home he knew. "Director Ji-ho, Captain Ji-won," Sung-min said respectfully. "I heard about the galactic message. The Earthborn generation has been discussing it." "What is your opinion?" Ji-ho asked. "We think humanity should stay on Earth. We've seen the reports about alien dependency. We've watched our parents and grandparents carry the galaxy's problems for decades. Why should we risk going back?" Sung-min activated his tablet showing statistics about Earth's renaissance. "Look at what we've achieved in 5 years. Our cities are more beautiful than ever. Our technology is advancing faster than it did when we were spread across the galaxy. Our culture is richer because we're focused on our own development." Ji-won nodded. "Sung-min makes good points. Earth is thriving. Maybe isolation is better for humanity." But Ji-ho looked thoughtful. "Sung-min, may I ask you something? Have you studied the history of Earth before space travel?" "Some," Sung-min replied. "Earth had many isolated civilizations. They grew strong and developed amazing cultures. But do you know what happened when they finally met each other?" Sung-min shook his head. They shared knowledge and became stronger together. The greatest advances in human history came from different cultures learning from each other. Jiho stood up slowly and walked to a shelf filled with gifts from alien species. Beautiful Altarian crystal sculptures, elegant Zenthari metalwork, Korthak weapons transformed into art pieces. These gifts were made by species that learned to create beauty again after we left. They rediscovered abilities they had forgotten, but they also learned new things while we were gone. He picked up a small device that looked like a cross between human and alien technology. This is a communication device created by the Rigelian colonies. It works better than anything humans ever built. They combine their natural abilities with lessons they learned from studying our old equipment. Sungmin examined the device. It is impressive. The question is not whether we should return to save the galaxy, Jiho continued. The question is whether we should return to learn from the galaxy. Jiwon activated her communicator. Bring in Dr. Park Soman, please. A few minutes later, Soman entered the office. She was older now, with gray streaks in her hair, but her eyes were still bright with curiosity. Dr. Somin, Jiwon said, what does your latest research show about galactic development? Somin smiled. The galaxy has exceeded my best predictions. Not only have most species learned independence, but they've created new solutions to problems humans never solved. She activated a hologram showing the current state of galactic civilization. The Korthak Peace Corps has reduced galactic conflicts by 70%. The Altarian Trade Network has eliminated economic inequality in 12 systems. The Zenthari engineering cooperatives have designed space habitats that are completely sustainable. More importantly, Somin continued, they've established something called the human doctrine. What is that? Sungmin asked. A galactic law that prevents any species from becoming dependent on another for survival. Every civilization must maintain the ability to solve its own essential problems. Jiho smiled. They learned the lesson we tried to teach them. Yes, they did. And now they want to teach us what they've learned. Jiwon looked at the galactic message again. So what do you recommend? Selective engagement, Somin replied. We return to specific systems, but only where we're invited as equals. We establish new protocols. Humans will teach, but not do the work. We will advise, but not make decisions. We will support, but not carry. Sungmin frowned. But what if they become dependent again? They won't, Jiho said confidently. They've learned what dependency costs. They've felt the pain of helplessness. They won't give up their independence easily. And if they do start to depend on us again? Jiwon asked. Then we leave again, Somin said simply. We've proven that we can walk away. That knowledge changes everything. The room fell quiet as everyone considered the options. Finally, Jiwon made her decision. I propose a middle path. We accept invitations from specific systems, but we establish strict limits. No human facility can become essential to alien survival. No human expert can become irreplaceable. We participate as partners, not as leaders. What about the Earthborn generation? Seungmin asked. Many of us prefer isolation. Then you can choose to stay on Earth, Jiho replied. No one will be forced to return to the galaxy, but those who want to explore and learn will have that opportunity. Jiwon began composing a response to the Galactic Council. The message was short and clear. Humanity accepts your invitation to return as equals. We look forward to learning from each other. 6 months later, the first human diplomatic mission in 5 years prepared to launch. It was not a rescue mission or a problem-solving expedition. It was a celebration. The Altarian Trade Union was hosting a festival to mark 5 years of successful independence. They had invited humans not to organize the event, but to attend as honored guests. Captain Ji-won stood on the bridge of the diplomatic ship as it prepared to jump to hyperspace. Half of her crew were returning humans who remembered the old galaxy. Half were Earth-born humans curious about the new galaxy. "Are you ready, Captain?" asked her pilot. Ji-won looked at the stars ahead. Somewhere out there, alien civilizations were thriving on their own. They had learned to solve their problems, create beauty, and help each other. They no longer needed humans to survive, but maybe, just maybe, they could all learn to grow together. "Yes," Ji-won said. "Let's go meet our equals." The ship jumped to hyperspace, carrying humanity back to the stars. Not as saviors or problem solvers, but as partners in the greatest adventure of all, learning from each other and growing together among the infinite possibilities of space.